I had a car accident
Okay.
in June of 1975. I
Okay.
had a car accident, and um, doctors told me I'd never play again.
Oh.
And so I had to do something where um, I had myself as a boss,
Yeah. Yeah.
and where I could use my creativity. Well, in Lake Mills, we had my great grandmother's house that we purchased was a duplex, 100-plus-year-old duplex. That kind of home was constructed with very, very high ceilings, very long living rooms, spacious, and uh, and so I had picked up the hobby of photography on the road. The piano player I was with, he was from New York, and he was carrying Hasselblad equipment, and I had picked up on Nikon, and I had myself a professional level Nikon, and I thought I could do a photography studio. So I commandeered one living room for my studio because we never rented out any part of it. We would just spread out and live however we felt like living. So I commandeered one living room for the studio, one bedroom for the office, one basement for the dark room. I set out my shingle, and I was immediately successful. I became our hometown's newspaper photographer.
Oh, cool.
And I was doing the basketball games, the Cub Scouts, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And about a year after that, so it was quite successful. But a year after that, doctor says, "Well, why don't you try to play again, see how it goes?" I did. I could. So I immediately closed the doors to the studio. I'm back playing because that's number
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and here was the thing that changed my life. I was playing we one of our stops on our tour was in Appleton, and at that time they had a showroom up there at a place called the Embassy Hotel, not as Embassy Suites as we know today. This was a comparable showroom to the one that they had in Waukesha with the Ramada Inn. And we were playing there, and there were two gals sitting down in front, and I was a ladies' man. Okay, I I enjoyed female company all throughout my adolescence,
Okay.
and this one girl of the two that came up to me when we got on break and said, "Haven't I seen you someplace before?" And I thought, now that's a pickup line if I ever heard one. and so we engaged in conversation, and and that night after the gig, we went up to my room, and I did not do
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
your brain all just went. Uh, it, in fact, I don't even think I made a pass. Instead, I've got music playing, and I'm telling her all about Benny Goodman and Glenn Miller and all this music and everything else like that. We're having this kind of thing, and 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 the thought passed through my mind that had never occurred to me with anybody who I had dated up until that period of time, and that thought was, I wonder what it'd be like being married to her.
So that's just.
So I'm back on the road, and every once in a while, when I got back into town, I'd go, "Hey, want to do a movie? Glenn Miller Band's coming. You want to go?" You know, whatever the case was. And then I had my car accident, and uh, I was in Fort Atkinson Hospital, and they said, "Well, if we can't do any more for you, so we're going to transfer you to Madison General." And so they made the move to Madison General, and I am bored out of my gourd. I'm really just, and I'm having a pity party. So I pick up the phone and called out to her family. I says, and I got her mom. I says, Is Darlene there? She said, no, she's working. I said, where does she work? Madison General.
Wow.
Okay. So then she started coming to play checkers with me. Just
So
to
she
keep
was
me
she
company.
was a nurse there?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
She was in nursing school. And or no, she wasn't in the, I don't know.
She
had
was there.
graduated from, yeah. Yeah, because when I met her on the road, she was with a traveling health unit, state health unit. So anyhow, she would come up and just keep me company and play checkers with me. Now,
So I'm assuming this accident was pretty bad, and you were laid up having to be in a hospital for some period of time.
I had issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so at that point in my life, my head was like this big.
Because of all the band
really,
work and
really big ego, and probably pretty much a jerk too. I don't know, but she tolerated. She took pity on me. She played checkers, and that proceeded. I got out of the hospital and everything else like that. Will you marry me? No.
you asked her?
Yeah.
Okay. Just
Yeah.
making sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I
And now,
think
are you still like laid up at this
I
point?
think no.
Okay.
I think I'm past that, and I think she turned me down twice.
Wow.
Yeah,
But obviously you guys still dated or whatever.
Yeah.
She just wasn't ready for marriage.
Nope.
Okay.
No. And then one day I had all 4 wisdom teeth taken out at the same time. I'm on drugs. I can't talk. My cheeks are out to here, and I'm still in La La Land. And needless to say, I can't drive, so she's driving back from the dentist. I says, pull in there. What? Pull in there. Pull in there. When, that jewelry store. Why? I got to get your engagement right.
So she finally said yes.
That was my proposal.
Oh boy. Well, I suppose
We're getting married.
I suppose after being shot down twice,
So we moved to Milwaukee, and the deal was, because I love traveling on the road. The road is fabulous. You get to see all these places and go up in the Tetons and walk up to a moose and different things like that. You got to do all that stuff. So my thing was, I wanted to take and go on the road, only I wanted to do it right. I wanted to do it with carry my home with me and do a travel trailer.
Gotcha.
So we when we moved to Milwaukee, we got married, and we bought a travel trailer. And the reason why we moved to Milwaukee is, she says, well, because she had just graduated from nursing school.
Okay.
And she said, I want to go to work for a year to put to use what I just learned, so it's solid, and then we can go out on the road. So we got a travel trailer, an 8 by 31 foot travel trailer.
Wow.
It was nice.
Yeah.
And ordered a Suburban. The salesman says, I've never ordered anything with as many options on. This took 3 pages to fill out the order. Mm-hmm. And I just totally decked it out to be the ultimate travel pull vehicle. And and the only place we could find that would take a trailer that small in a mobile home court was right off the western takeoff runway of Mitchell Field.
Oh. Yeah, I know right where that is. Yes.
Behind the Blue Canary.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and my friends got used to, I'm talking to Bill on the phone, and Bill says, oh, wait a second.
Yeah.
And we got numb to it, So that that was the plan. We lived in that travel trailer there for 3 years, and I'm still in Milwaukee now, 46 years later. And she is still at the same hospital she started to work at 46 years later.
Wow.
And the travel trailer never moved off the lot. We finally bought a home, and we sold the travel trailer, and so we never did do the travel thing. And she became very, very good at doing what it was she did. She was supervisor of the respiratory intensive care, then she became supervisor of surgical intensive care, and the clinician and the orientation person. And for the last several years, she's been running 2 and sometimes 3 intensive cares there, including the Columbia St. Mary's Regional Burn Center.
Oh, wow.
And so that's how that went down.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So 46 years you guys have been together.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I told you I had an A band and a B band,
Right.
and then the 28 other bands. And genre-wise, it's been all over the map. Really all over the map. Blues band, Latin band, Puerto Rican band, classical band, symphony stuff, and everything.
Wow.
And in 1982, I had, like I said, my A band, but every once in a while, another famous band leader would come along and say, "Hey, can you go out with us for 2 weeks over here?" Well, I did that. We were doing a 2-week thing, and I would get a sub for my gig back here. And I always got really good people. And I was in Massachusetts on that 2-week thing, and the guy decided to extend it by 1 day, which meant that conflicted with another date back here, and I had to get another sub. I got back. Now, the guy I was working with had always told me, he says, "You're the best drummer I've ever worked with in my life." And we had a really, really good relationship. And I loved working for him. We had a good time together. We knew each other so well. He could literally, and I'm not joking about this, and it's not an exaggeration, he could literally hit one key on the piano, I'd know what song he was going to play. I don't know why, but it just worked that way.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me into his office, and when I got back, he says, "Bill, he says, I can't do this anymore. I've got to make a change. If you gotta." And I said, "Okay." And I'm thinking, well, I've got to make a living. I'm doing it as I'm on my way out. I says, "You've always said that I'm the best you've ever worked with. So I want you to understand something. Either I'm working for you or I'm working for your competition." And I did a 2 or 3 count, and I says, "Or I might be your competition." Because you remember, jobs and bosses.
Mm-hmm.
So took me 24 hours. And 24 hours, I made a decision. And I called up the singer that I had a good relationship with, who had been with us there, but had left like 6 or 8 months before. And that was already over. And I called and I said, "Joni," I says, "I'm going to start a band. You want to be my singer?" "Yeah, let's do it." Now, here's what happened. I went in. Now, I've told people many times in business counseling, because I do consulting, coaching, and different things like that. Not as you would know coaches today, okay? And I'd say if the dream is big enough, the facts don't count. And so I went in. I had a picture up here. I knew what I wanted to do. So I went into the Bavarian Inn, because I figured that would be the ideal place to debut my band. And I sat down across from the manager of the Bavarian Inn, and I said, here's what I want to do. I says, I want this, I want to do this, I want to do that, boom, 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 boom. And I want to debut it here, and I want you to pay for it. Here's the contract. He signed it. He bought the band, paid full boat for it. Now, I didn't have one single piece of equipment. I had no sound system. I had no lights. I had no music stands. I had no music. I had no library. I had no artwork. I had no advertisement. I had no mailing list. All I had was Joni and me and my drum set. Nothing. And I didn't know who would be on the band. The date was roughly 6 weeks down the road.
So you had a lot of hustling to do.
Oh my God. What I accomplished in 6 weeks should have taken at the very, very least 6 months. Okay, we had, because I assembled the music stands. This is a big band, so we're talking 13 instrumentalists, and so I assembled the music stands. I got them painted. I got the logo work done. I got the advertising pieces done. I got the promo pieces. We assembled the names list. I bought library. I had charts written. I bought it and designed a sound system. Everything. Promoted it. And here's how close it got. On November 18th, 1982, at 8 o'clock, this is going down. And if I'm not mistaken, I even had WOKY there. I know I had them there on several dates that we did. They would broadcast me live on several occasions. But at 8 o'clock, that downbeat's happening. I assembled the musicians, everything else like that. And I live a couple of miles, a few miles, maybe 3 miles from the Bavarian Inn.
Mm-hmm.
And the band is set up. And the downbeat's at 8 o'clock. And at 7:45, we're still sorting the music on the living room floor. Darlene looked at me, she says, you go. Take the first set with you, I'll follow with the second and third set. I did, we were off and running. It was a very successful evening. And we went from no gigs to all the best gigs here in Milwaukee in like overnight in the first year. I mean, and when I'm talking best gigs, I'm talking really, really high level stuff. As high level stuff as you could possibly do. And that band business is now in its 40th year. At our peak, we were averaging between 10 and 20 dates a month. My busiest month, I think I did 32 dates.
Wow.
So we were busy. Summerfest every year, State Fair every year, all that kind of stuff, everything. And the band was really hot.
So have you stayed pretty much local now, or
For the most part.
say from that point
Yeah,
on?
I got, every once in a while I get a call to do a gig like in Indiana or South Dakota or something like that. But yeah, mostly around here.
Okay.
And sometimes the band business got to the point where I would do two bands a night, and occasionally like 3 bands a night. Years ago I stopped that though. I just figured out that there was too many things going on that wouldn't happen if I was on the gig. And so I cut that out entirely. So that I was always doing the drumming and leading the band, and so that continued, and then the photography thing.
Yeah, I was gonna. So let me interject something though. So I know you got married. What about kids? How many kids you have?
2.
2 kids.
2 girls.
2 girls.
Mm-hmm.
And are they local? Are they across the country? What
One's in north of the Twin Cities, Minnesota.
Okay.
The other one's suburb Indianapolis.
Oh. So the Minnesota, what's her name?
Jen.
Jen. So what is Jen married? Got grandkids?
Jen. Jen's married.
Oh,
Okay. By the time Jen was 22, sometimes I get these numbers inverted. By the time she was 22, she'd been to 21 countries.
wow.
She done missions work in India, Macedonia, Northern Ireland, different things like that. She lived in Romania for 2.5 years, dealing with human trafficking prevention and recovery.
Oh, wow.
And while she was in Romania. Now, they both my girls went to school went to college at North Central up in Minneapolis.
Okay.
And they had Jen had a church she really liked, Emmanuel up there, and really vibrant church, very, very vibrant church. And so she's in Romania doing this mission stuff. And one day I got a call. She said, "Dad," she says, "there's this guy online, and he says he believes God meant for us to be together." And she's going like,
Mm-hmm.
"Dad,
It's a little
I
spooky.
got a stalker."
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I says, "Jen," I says, "don't shut this down. I've seen God do some really strange things before. I've heard of some really strange things.
I've done some stranger things.
Yeah, yeah." I says, just let this, play this out, see where this is going." And then she met him, because she hadn't met this guy.
Oh, okay.
And then she met him. She said, "Dad, I don't like this guy. He likes me." I said, "Just chill out. Just see where this goes." Well, he came back. She came back, and they got together. I got this phone call. "Dad, I kind of like this guy."
Well, that's good.
And come to find out, he was in the Army as a medic over there, and he is in the family of the senior pastor at this church,
Really? Wow.
where she had been very active, but they had never met.
Uh-huh.
But the wife of the pastor told him one day, "We've got this gal over there where you are, Jen, you ought to." And that's how it all came.
Awesome. Awesome.
So they have a son, and he just graduated as a nurse, and she's doing remote assistant work.
Awesome. Okay, so let's go. Let's switch gears to Indiana. So
Indiana. The guy she married is with a global financial concern, and he got. It was really funny because he was working for this company, and he put in for this promotion to get this. He got his CFA, and he got turned down for this promotion. He was really distraught, and then he got a call, and he said, "The guy who was going to get this thing has decided he's not going to do it. You're it. You're moving to Indiana. You start in 2 weeks."
oh, so that's all.
Now they had an apartment
Yeah.
in Minneapolis,
Oh,
and a child,
Okay.
and a dog, and 2 weeks. So they went down in like 48 hours. You got like 8 hours to pick out a house and everything else.
mhm. So let's talk about your photography, and then let's talk about what's next. What's the future hold?
Okay. The photography. When I closed the doors to the studio in Lake Mills, my photography dwindled down to simple point and shoot documentation,
Okay.
pocket cameras and stuff like that.
And then your trips on the road all the time, right?
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So it dwindled down to snapshots, and then my daughter Jen became a gifted photographer.
Okay.
And Dad, I need a camera, the point and shoot thing. Okay, so I got her like the next step up without going there. Okay, and I says, okay, I'll get her this, see what she does with it. And like she entered a photo competition. She was the first person I've seen in this competition that got a perfect 40 and went to nationals with it. And
Wow.
and she's got the eye. She's one of those that got the eye, and so then she would keep doing the step up thing, because as she warranted it, we would do something to step it up, and then here's what happened. Her birthday came around, and she was at the point where it says, okay, she's ready for a DSLR, and so I went and got her the Nikon kit with like 2 lenses, and I as I'm sliding it over across the table to her on her birthday, I looked at her and says, I want to let you know, this is the first present I've ever given anybody that I would have rather kept for myself. And then I got, let me try that.
Yeah, you got the itch. I was going to say.
Now, because I had been doing
Right.
Photoshop and stuff like that for a while online, and just to deal with images.
Okay.
And it amazed me because I was used darkroom. I remember I came up one night from my office, and I said, you would not believe what I just did in 2 hours. It would have taken me 6 weeks to do before. It's just unreal. And I was totally fascinated by it. So I dug that. Okay. So then Jen comes to me, she says, Dad, I could use this lens. And I tried her camera, and I went, wow, this is really cool. And Dad, they're having me do these portraits. I could use this flash. So finally, one day I got frustrated. I said that to myself one too many times, because I keep repeating the same thing in my head. And I walked Darlene into the store, walked her over to the Nikon kit. I says, would I be crazy? She said, I'll go ahead. Dumbest thing she ever said in her life. And now 6 figures later. And the thing about it is because I don't do anything half speed.
Right.
You know, and I loathe mediocrity. If I'm going to do something, I've got to be the best. I've got to do it the best I possibly can. So I did the same thing I did with music, and whereas I sought out the best people to listen to, Buddy Rich, I was in Buddy Rich's audience every time he came around, you know, all that kind of stuff. And the same thing with photography. I sought out the very, very best people, legends, to be mentored by in that area, and just totally immersed myself and equipped myself for every possible scenario and thing that I would encounter. And I went down that road, and I finally got my certification. I became a certified professional photographer, and that's not like some of these coaches go out now and buy a certificate for $89.
Yeah.
No, this took me 3 years and of intensive study and stuff, and there are like less than 2,500 of us in the country. I think there are like 5 of us in southeastern Wisconsin. One time I checked, and so I got my certification, and I became a member of the Professional Photographers of America, and then I became a member of Wisconsin Professional Photographers, and now they got me on the board, and now I'm 5 years on the board there, and I just served as a term as president of the Wisconsin. which is really, to me, a huge honor, simply because in Wisconsin we have a way above average number of some of the most legendary photographers, not only nationally but worldwide. And I did not know any of these guys existed, and then I started digging into this. Holy, what? He lives in Wisconsin, and so they're these monster photographers. I'm the least of all these guys. So I was president of that. Now I'm past president on the board, and doing that kind of stuff. And somebody asked me in the beginning, "You interested in teaching?" I said, "No. No, I'm teaching and mentoring." So that's kind of where that's going. And I do art, fine art portraiture, and I do light painting. And light painting is I'm probably about one of about 40 people in the United States that does light painting the way I do it, the way we do it. And so I've got 4 different brands under the photography thing. And I segregate them and keep them separate on purpose. Because when the challenge I have, both in music and photography, mainly music, is I wear so many different hats, and I'm so genre-wise, I'm so eclectic, more than anybody I've ever met in my life. Okay, if I told you all the different kinds of music I play and all the different kind of people I work with, you know, and because somebody sees me do one and they see me do it well, that's what he does. No, I do all the other things too.
Right.
And the same thing with photography. So I have to, when I'm talking with somebody, I'm talking with one brand in mind because I'm looking at what it is that this person needs.
Gotcha.
I can do all 4, so that's what I do. The photography, for me, is my 3rd trimester challenge. Literally. That's exactly what it is.
Explain that a little bit more.
It is my 3rd trimester challenge. It is I have to have a mountain to climb.
Okay.
I have to have something to conquer. I have to have something that challenges me to be better than yesterday. And photography is that thing. Because no matter how good I get with it, I will still look at my last image and go, that sucks. Okay. I'm not satisfied with anything there. Okay. Now that's not to say I'm not really good, but I'm just not satisfied there.
Right.
Because there's so much further that I can go. There is no top end in photography. There's absolutely none, and it's not dependent upon any market, okay, and it's not dependent on anything as to whether or not I'm able to challenge it and grow and become more, okay. So the technology always changes, the ideas always are there, and the inspirations are always there. So there's no top end on it. So now I've got something that I can do for the rest of my life that keeps me challenged and is very lucrative.
Right. Gotcha.
Okay.